Coast to coast and across the globe, FanDuel Racing on YouTube has you covered.
Welcome into the special Saturday of racing. We're heading to the Bayou, New Orleans. Going to be the center of the racing universe today. And looking forward to Kentucky Derby and Oaks Points on the line, on the trail to the Louisiana Derby. And as Joaquin told you, the FanDuel YouTube page has everything, including this live show you're watching right now, to get you set for a Saturday at the races. Caleb and Curtis with you here. And Curtis, they've had these past performances out for one whole week at the fairgrounds, and we're ready for the races today.
Yeah, it's been building up for a whole week. Very excited to get things started at fairgrounds with the Lecomte Stakes at the end of a 13-race card. If you want live horse racing coast to coast, nonstop, you're watching the right channel.
And in terms of the stakes races, loaded late pick 5, all stakes for the pick 5. And actually, they start even before then. The Duncan Kenner, a longtime sprint race, will be the 7th. And then we're going to see Curtis in race 9, the all stakes late pick 5 sequence.
We're fast and firm as well. Gotta love to see that at fairgrounds. So there's been times where the weather hasn't always been ideal. I remember last year at the Lecomte Stakes, with Disco Time had that big win. But this year, fast, firm, looks like a great day of racing in the Big Easy.
Now, you know, about 5 or 10 years ago, this race, the Lecomte, was the first race on the trail to the Louisiana Derby. But in recent years, they added the Gunrunner Stakes, which has already been run. It was won by Chip Honcho, who's going to be in the race today. So the winner of this event will get 20 points. That's for the winner. And then the second, third, and fourth will get points respectively as well.
I'm looking forward to that. The Gunrunner Stakes, 3 horses coming out of that. Chip Honcho, the winner. We also have Crown the Buckeye coming out of that. But I think it's going to be a new shooter to the group, Caleb, who gets the job done today in the Lecomte Stakes.
And in terms of the field, we have a deep and contentious field. Let's take a look at the morning line for this race. And your Gunrunner winner is on the outside. Tough to make a morning line for the race, but Crown the Buckeye was slightly the 4-1 favorite. I think that's going to be a moving target. I think this board could go any which direction. But what are you looking at when you see the odds for this race, Curtis?
I'm looking for horses more in the middle there, Caleb, and I do think it's nice to see a horse like Thunder Buck, who was cross-centered in a race number 3, which was an allowance race. The connections say, no, we're strong enough and favored enough of this horse. We're going to send him in here. Note that Brad Cox also has White Tiger in there. Irad Ortiz Jr. is in town to ride. He's giving up mounts at Gulfstream Park. Flavian Pratt's in town to ride Mesquite. He's giving up mounts at Aqueduct. So big jockeys coming in from across the country, and they're all trying to take on Chip Honcho after he won the Gunrunner.
Asmussen versus Cox. They have met each other many times before at this very circuit. And let's take a look at these two horses. So, Chip Honcho and Thunderbuck, they ran on the same day, December 20th, but they were in different races. Chip Honcho won the Gunrunner, and then Thunderbuck was in the maiden special weight earlier, but when you look at the times, you could argue that Thunderbuck actually might have run a faster race.
He finished faster, and I think as the distances get longer at the fairgrounds, that's important. But also remember, this is one of the longest dirt stretches in North America. It's right up there with Belmont Park and Los Alamitos. So we had Joe Talamo on set at the fairgrounds, a local boy. He knows this track very well. You see that the quarter pole's at the top of the stretch. That's how long this is. And Joe said he's won many races from last to first because inexperienced jockeys at fairgrounds, they press go too quickly. They don't time it right here. Chip Honcho, this is going to be a nicely timed ride from Paco Lopez. A grinding effort to get by Crown the Buckeye. Liberty National not in this race, sneaking up the rail to get second. But 3 horses coming out of this race, Caleb, it's going to be tough for them because they've got plenty of new customers.
So that was on the 20th of December. Also, on the 20th of December was Thunderbuck. And this horse is coming out of a race at Keeneland. One angle that I have, you're going to see a lot of promising horses that don't win on debut at Keeneland for these potential Derby types. The race could be too short. The horses are too fast. This horse was just decent on debut, but here's the second start and gets the win with authority.
And one key race on today's card to take a look at, the second place horse, Oselli, entered in this race. He's scratching to run in the maiden special weight, race number 8. So if Oselli runs very well, if he wins that maiden special weight, give extra credence to Thunderbuck. If Oselli has a no excuses poor effort, maybe Thunderbuck in over his head against this group.
And you're going to get Luis Saez, who is 1-for-1. Saez on Thunderbuck, 6-1 for a middle price there for the Calumet Farm, the owner who's won more Kentucky Derbies than any owner, and a colt by Gunrunner. Now, in terms of Ben Curtis. He pulled the biggest upset last year on the Louisiana Derby Trail. The Risen Star, Magnitude at 40-1, won by 9 whole lengths. And again, Ben Curtis, one of those jockeys to watch, and he's going to have stopped the car here later on today.
Horse racing really is based on a dream. You have to dream you're going to find that next big horse. You know, dream you're going to win the Kentucky Derby. That's what keeps everyone going.
All right, boys, let's go ride.
I'm not from a racing family. No one in my family had anything related with horses at all.
Go get him.
When I was 15, a friend of mine, his dad had a racing stables, and I went there, fell in love with racing, and yeah, it all really stemmed from there, and had a good career of it so far. You know, I had a great time in Ireland. You know, I was Rookie of the Year the first year I started racing, and I was joint champion apprentice then 2 years later with Joseph O'Brien and Gary Carroll. I think I just got very lucky. I won on a lot of long shots and rode a lot of winners for a lot of people over there. But it's a very small environment, and it's hard to really kind of further your career if you're not in one of the big yards or not got one of the big jobs. So I made the decision to move to England. Had an unbelievable time over there for 11 years, rode for pretty much everyone, and I just got tired of the driving, the miles over there, you're in the car all the time. So I came over on a work stint. It went unbelievably well, and haven't looked back since. Just been really living the American dream, as they say. To be honest, it's very much a fashion sport. If you're in fashion, you get used. If you're out of fashion, people don't look at you, and you need to be there in the public's eye to be relevant. I mean, the dream was, first of all, to ride a winner in America when I came over. The next dream was obviously a graded stake, tick that off. And then the grade 1, which I've known Eddie Keneally and his family for years. So to ride it for him was just the cherry on the cake. You know, it was a brilliant day. New Orleans is eclectic. You get every side of it when you're in the city, but fairgrounds, you get a lot of the nice horses that are setting up for the Kentucky circuit, you know, for Keeneland and Churchill. So it's a beautiful kind of springboard into the Kentucky meets. The Kentucky Derby is one of the biggest races in the world. It was a dream to ride in it, and the build-up is phenomenal. That's kind of what horse racing is all about. You just hope you can find a horse that can compete, and then, you know, once you get to that stage, you hope it's good enough to win. So I love going out, and then you come back in and you say, we have a chance, we have a chance. That's what keeps us getting up at 4:30 in the morning.
And at the end of last year, they did the stats on jockeys based on winning plus what they paid, and Ben Curtis was the most profitable jockey in America, and that 40-1 score on Magnitude helped. Today, he's on Stop the Car, a perfect 2 for 2 in the Lecomte, and both wins were at prices. So Ben Curtis with a chance later on today. But let's bring in Matt Bernier to the show. He's going to be a part of the coverage here today. And Matt, this time last year on Lecomte Day, arguably the worst weather on the Derby Trail. Today it looks a lot different.
Yeah, Caleb, right now things are beautiful. It's high 50s. The sun is peeking out between the clouds. It's supposed to cool off as the afternoon goes on. The real field, by the time the Lecomte goes, should be around 40 degrees as the wind picks up. So it's going to be a little bit brisk, but the good news is looks like the wet weather is out of the way, and we are fast and firm here in New Orleans.
You've got this card scoped out. Let's focus on the last 5 races on the program. We're going to start with the 9th race, the Marie Krantz Memorial long-standing stakes race here at the fairgrounds on the turf. Nice field of 11. What are you seeing here?
Well, I think the public is going to really lean into 3 horses. The 2-1 morning line favorite, Maduro, the 3-1 second choice in Sweet Treasure, and then the 9-2 wild card in Nandadea. I am a major fan of Nandadea, but I can't back her at a number like that off the last time we saw her. And the more and more I went through the race, I just thought maybe it was ripe for something a little bit kind of kooky to happen. And maybe an up-and-comer in this division could be the 2-horse Epic Style, who's 12-1 on the morning line for the Mike Stidham barn. This is a filly by Good Magic, who her first 4 starts of her career, she sprinted. And then here on November the 27th, the Connections decided to stretch her out And I'll tell you what, Caleb, I thought she moved like a winner every step of the way. The only knock about this performance that we're going to look at is at the very end of the run, she pops to her left lead. I'm going to be kind and forgiving. Normally, to me, that's a cross-out. I don't want to see that. But it was the first time she'd ever gone 2 turns. And to be fair, she's lengths clear of the rest of the field. You don't typically see strung-out fields like this in turf races, specifically turf routes. That, to me, is an indicator of a positive kind of performance. It's also worth noting the only turf starter out of that race. There have been a few horses that had their races taken off the turf or they ran on the dirt. The only grass starter out of that race was a next out winner with an 80 by her speed figure. So I think there's a lot to like there. I'm going to go to Epic Style in here. I'll make her a bet. I'm going to bet her to win. Depending on the price, might end up being upwards of $50 for me. But again, the beauty of this horse racing game, Caleb, you know as well as I do, budget be your guide. Play for $2, play for $20, play for $200, whatever fits.
And I like how you're going to help us out in some of the most challenging big field turf races today. Let's go from the 9th to the 11th. Going to be the Colonel E. Bradley, another longtime stakes race from the fairgrounds. Mile of 16 for the males on the grass.
And this is another race that I think you can go through, and I believe the race goes through Capuna and Laganos. Those are the 2 favorites on the morning line at 3-1 and 7-2. I think sort of a wise guy horse is going to be the 10 Reagan's Wit for Cherie DeVaux and Flavien Prat. But there's a horse in here that I think is going to be overlooked on the tote, and maybe Otago's not good enough to win for Kelsey Danner, but at 20-1, I think he's got races that are good enough to be competitive in here. 10 times in the exacta from 21 lifetime starts. This is his last turf start. This is the beginning of October up at Aqueduct in the Artie Schiller, and you see him basically just tipping out right now behind Major Dude. He can't run Major Dude down, but I guess my question to folks at home when handicapping this race, maybe Major Dude isn't what he once was, but if he were in this race, what kind of price would he be? I think he'd probably be in that sort of 9-2, 5-1 range. And if you're telling me I've got a horse that was only beaten a length and I'm going to get north of 20-1, which I think I probably will, I'm happy to take a gamble on him. I think Otago's the kind of horse that maybe he's not quite good enough to win, but I absolutely think he can get involved in the exacta. So my logic for this race, I will play him a little bit to win, but I'm going to really key in on exactas here. And I'm going to use those 2 favorites that I mentioned earlier. I think the race goes through Capuna, and I think it goes through Laganos. They're the 2 likeliest winners of this race. I'm going to split them. Okay, we're going to play 2 sets of exactas, 11 over 1-4. Those are $10 a piece for $20 total. And then we're going to flip the script. We'll use the favorites on top, the 1 and the 4 in first, and we'll use the 11 Otago in second in the event that he runs a bang-up race and he's not quite good enough to get the job done. So the idea is Otago running first or second, one of the 2 favorites rounding out the exacta, whether it be first or second. And as I mentioned as well, Caleb, I'm not afraid to throw a little bit of money on him. It's not a big push on the win end, but I think Otago's going to outrun his odds here at what should be close to 20-1.
So you're telling me that if Axel Concepcion has himself a day, you're getting rich here. Both of these top selections for Matt with Axel there in the saddle. So we go from the 2 turf races to the big one, the Grade 3 Lecomte. This one's going to be the final race on the program. You got a best bet in this event.
I do, and before we get to the best bet, I think we have to talk about a horse that increasingly seems like he's going to be the favorite. Now, earlier this week, I came out and said the only horse that interests me in this race is the 5 Golden Tempo at 8-1 for Cherie DeVaux with Jose Ortiz. We've got a backtrack that we can take a look at from his maiden score. This is on December the 20th. Keep in mind, this is a 6-furlong race. He's just now coming into the shadow of the picture. He's by Curlin out of Carumba, who was a graded stakes winner going 9 furlongs in New York. And I watched this horse race here, Caleb, and I think, boy, he's not supposed to win a race like this. Never mind the fact that he was well behind the field. He didn't break poorly, but he didn't break well. It was almost as if it kind of caught him off guard. He's supposed to want to go long, so for him to win at 6 furlongs, I think it's just a feather in his cap and speaks to his ability and his potential. Now, that's the positive. The negative is all of the buzz, and I mean all the buzz, for this horse on social media. I've been watching videos, I'm hearing people, I'm seeing tweets, and I agree with all of it. Suddenly, if Golden Tempo goes off as the favorite at 5-2 or 3-1, he may be the likeliest winner, but he's a terrible bet. First time 2 turns, first time against winners, taking on horses that have already proven themselves doing these sort of things. That's just not an appealing prospect at 5-2 or 3-1. So I respect him. He might be the likeliest winner, but I decided to go elsewhere. I did a little bit more digging, and I was really taken by Stop the Car, the 10 horse. You mentioned him at the top, Caleb. The idea that we heard from Ben Curtis with that feature, he's going to be riding here. We're going back to November the 29th. He's had a fairly good trip, all things considered. He was down on the inside. He eventually tips out to the 2-3 path. You want to talk about powering home. I know this is a one-turn mile. There's a fair bit of sprint in some of this pedigree, but the immediate family would suggest that longer is actually what he wants to do. Mom was route. Maximum Security, we know, is better off going longer. And I read an article from Marcus Hirsch that Brendan Walsh mentioned. This is a stoutly built runner that he has just been chomping at the bit to get out to 2 turns. We haven't seen him since the end of November. I would like to think that if he matures at all, he is a major threat to win this race. I'm going to key him in all the exotics, meaning if I'm playing pick 5s, he's going to be the lone A. If I'm playing a trifecta or an exacta here in the Lecomte, I'm going to key him on top, and we'll use some of the other runners underneath. I respect Golden Tempo. Caleb, long-term, maybe he is actually the horse that you want out of this race. To me, here and now, today, given the likely price, I want to stop the car the 10.
And looking to add to what's already an undefeated resume, has been an overachiever to this point. So, Matt Bernier, thank you very much, and we're looking forward to the coverage here throughout the day.
Chat with you guys later on.
Back here in the studio. You know, Thunder Buck coming off that sprint. 1 maiden sprint, Curtis, to a route stakes. I will say this about Thunder Buck. In my mind, the best 2 horses in America right now are Sovereignty and Nisos. They're both out of a Bernardini mare, and so is Thunder Buck.
Yeah, you've got to love the fact that are you talking about Golden Tempo?
Golden Tempo, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I say he's out an Oxbow mare. That's another one that would love to go on. No, Golden Tempo, I thought Matt Bernier clearly identified why this horse wants to go 2 turns. But I've been on this horse for a long time, from the fantasy draft that we've talked about before. I had this horse on the team. Very excited about his future, but I'm starting to think like Matt, 8-1, it might be more like 8-5.
And I think that the Mike Maker, the very lukewarm 4-1, I think that horse is going to float up considerably.
Yes.
I do not see him, not to disparage the morning line, but I do not see that horse going off favored.
No, I mean, he didn't even win the Gunrunner Stakes, and now he was speed and quit in that race. You're asking him against a much bigger field to do the same thing. I'm with you on that.
All right, again, so that'll be the 13th and final. Love having the best race on the program as the final race on the car. But Brad Cox, he's done some damage. We mentioned Thunderbuck, among others. He also got White Tiger. But this is a day where, you know, anything short of 2 or 3 wins, I think that's probably the line. I'm going to put the line here at 3 right there on the button for wins today.
Well, just a touch in the Louisiana Stakes. That's a favorite I want to beat. So I'm very excited that he is the morning line favorite because I want nothing to do with just a touch at that morning line. It's a horse that's really struggled to get over the hump in stakes races here. I do think with the triumvirate he has in the Lecomte, Thunderbuck is the horse to watch. But don't discount White Tiger. Irad Ortiz Jr. has been on that horse twice. He's giving up his mounts at Gulfstream Park today to be there to ride this horse.
And a few years ago, when Wells Bayou won the Louisiana Derby, Brad Cox won all the stakes races that day of the late variety. All right, our man Anthony Pascal, he's doing some work there on the backside. If you saw on social media earlier this week, got a big update from Bill Mott on Sovereignty. And as we look ahead to the Pegasus, Anthony Pascal doing his thing and getting us more info on these top contenders leading in.
Leading up to last year's Kentucky Derby, he was one of the most talked about prospects. Tappan Street stamped himself as a serious contender after his win in the Florida Derby against Sovereignty in only his 3rd lifetime start.
With a 16th to go, if you're looking for a shortcut to Louisville, take a ride on Tappan Street. He wins the Florida Derby by a length and a half.
But it wasn't meant to be, as Tappan Street suffered an injury during a workout while prepping for the Derby. After spending several months on the sidelines recovering, he returned to win an allowance race at Gulfstream Park last month.
It's Tappan Street who will get the job done. Tappan Street comes back a winner. He beat Step by a length.
That win set him up for his toughest test yet, a start in the $3 million Pegasus World Cup.
He came out of it very fresh. His works were better out of his race than going into it. I think he got a lot out of it fitness-wise and mentally. He's not super aggressive. You kind of got to make him do things, but if you make him do it, he will do it. But no, he's been pretty flashy the last 2 weeks here. He's been pretty good, so we're excited about him.
One of Tappan Street's toughest foes in the Pegasus World Cup happens to be a horse who lives just a few stalls down. His barnmate Disco Time, who is undefeated in 5 lifetime starts and has the looks of a horse who just keeps getting better and better.
Florent Giroux, Disco Time, a 16th left to go, and they are going to dominate here in the Dwyer. It's all Disco Time.
Disco Time had a plan to go to the Malibu day after Christmas, and obviously couldn't get out there with the planes being delayed, so had to go to Plan B, Pegasus. First time facing Olders, so it's a big ask, but only got to ship an hour and a half and don't have to get on a plane. So, but the horse has been doing very well here at Payson Park. If you look at his numbers, and I mean, he's improving with every start, so hopefully he continues to do so, but we think he's up to the task.
With two strong shots in the Pegasus World Cup, Team Cox is looking to start the new year building on the successes of 2025. They led all trainers in North America in earnings for the third year, with Brad Cox an Eclipse Award finalist for leading trainer. At Payson Park, Anthony Pascal for FanDuel TV.
And Brad Cox has won it before with Knicks Go. Disco Time still unblemished, and Tapan Street the only horse to beat Sovereignty last year.
Yeah, his return to the races was a little bit clunky, but I think now he's got the rust off. He should be much better next time out in the Pegasus, and he's going to have a whole host of contenders to take on here, Caleb. You see Saffie Joseph Jr. with two of them, Pletcher, Baffert sending Medicat Road, but all eyes for me are on Disco Time.
And essentially, we're talking about 10 years of great runnings of the Pegasus. One difference about this Pegasus coming up later on this month, it is now, for the first time, a Breeders' Cup win and you're in, which basically it was in the past, but now officially it's a win and you're in. So here in just about a week's plus time, we're gonna have our first contender for the Breeders' Cup Classic. And speaking of the Breeders' Cup charities, how about this coming up? So this is a great time of year. Of course, we're going to be giving out the Eclipse Awards not too far from now, but breederscup.com/charities right there at the bottom. We got some amazing things to potentially bid on, including, check out this middle point, a private visit with Hall of Fame champion Zen Yada. That would basically be equivalent to having a chance to meet a Beatle, if you will. And Zenyatta, I'm telling you, not a lot of people get a chance to see her. About 5 years ago, Joaquin Jaime, he got to see Zenyatta. He put a video on Twitter, got like 100,000 views just to see Zenyatta through the screen.
I mean, look at the champion mare, just an absolute queen, and very excited to see her final foal, Nimue, out there working for Cherie DeVoe down at the fairgrounds. Hopefully she can make her career debut soon. Several awesome things you can bid on, through the online auction, because there's also Breeders' Cup hats signed by the Connections Forever. Young journalism, whoever keeps outbidding me, stop it, but it's okay because we're raising money for charity. Plenty of horses. If you want one of those cool, unique purple Breeders' Cup hats that only the Connections have access to, it's all right there.
breederscup.com/charities. They also have the halters for the big-time racing memorabilia collectors for some famous horses. So going to be a great chance to raise money there for our charities leading into the Breeders' Cup. But that's going to do it for us previewing the day of the races on a Saturday, and when we come back, we're gonna be off to the races for the Lecomte Day, a big one at the fairgrounds. Special thanks to everybody that brought this one to life. You watched it live on YouTube and our other social media platforms.